Also have the roving microphone. Celine and Grant will take your questions from the audience. Why don't you start us off, though, Travis, about this event and how good things are going right now?
Well, thanks, Greg. I appreciate that. Just want to say welcome to PiratesFest 2026. This is great. A lot of fans out here today. We thank you for coming out, braving the cold weather. We had 26,000 plus people register for this event. I think it just shows you the excitement and the energy around Pirates baseball. Yeah, go ahead and applaud. That's awesome. And we can really feel that passion, that energy that all of you have in this off season as we get ready for the season. Hopefully it'll warm us all up over the next couple of days. We know we're going to go through some bad weather, but we're all looking forward to getting into the warm weather of Bradenton and warmer weather here for opening day. We're looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, Greg, I know we got a lot of questions. Let's get right into it.
Yeah, we do. We've got a lot of questions, and we'll start off with you, Travis, regarding the playoffs. Bo Pennington asked this question on September 29th last year. You said the goal is, quote, make the playoffs in 2026, period, full stop. So what exactly does that mean in measurable terms? And if the Pirates fail short again, what concrete accountability changes should fans expect, like process, staffing, or leadership?
Well, that statement certainly has a life of its own. And matter of fact, my kids told me I think a few people made shirts out of it. So I look forward to seeing those at some point during the season. But we meant what I said. Our goal is to make the playoffs, period, full stop. That is the expectation of this organization. We've been building for that for some time. I mean, if you think about it, players like Mitch Keller and Brian Reynolds and O'Neill Cruz, they all were here before Ben, myself, and Donnie. And those players were acquired, they've been signed, and they've been developed before us and have continued that development. And they're key players in what we're trying to build for. And with that, plus what we've been able to do and have the privilege to do with Bob, of continuing to build on that core over the last several years, and being led by a Cy Young pitcher like Paul Skeens, having that strong core of position players, we have a great opportunity in front of us this season, and we realize that. And so we said at the beginning of the season that we were going to be aggressively add to this team, especially on offense. And if you look at the signings, All-Star Ryan O'Hearn, All-Star Brandon Lau, and many others, strong players, and we know there's still more work to do. There's a lot to be excited about with respect to this team, and therefore we are absolutely committed. But we know there's still work to do. We know there's also execution during the season. And so with that, we are committed to making the playoffs, period, full stop. And we're going to hold ourselves accountable to that, and we want you to hold us accountable to that. But the other part of that is we look forward to the fun ride this season, and we look forward to all of you coming along with us on that ride.
That's a great point, too. Enjoy the ride. That's a really great point. A lot of questions for Ben regarding maybe adding another bat. Fans are encouraged by what they've seen so far, Ben, but they're also asking Kevin Stryker, for example, are there any more pieces the team is seeking to add through trades or free agency? Frank McGonigal, do you plan to add a hitter before spring training? Andrew Pennington, still hopeful to see one or two additional transactions, particularly the addition of another bat, ideally on the left side of the infield.
Yeah, first of all, again, good morning. It's great to see everybody here. It's great to be here with you. This day always sort of like ramps up the energy. You can start to think about baseball, start to think it's weird maybe to say this on a day like today, but you start thinking about the sunshine out, the baseball flying around. We're getting closer, so it's exciting to be here with everybody. Travis talked about it a little bit. We're really excited, feel really good about the work that we've been able to get done already this offseason. We heard from one of them, Ryan O'Hearn, we've heard about the Brandon Lau trade. But if you go back to the beginning of the offseason, we talked about a desire to add meaningfully to the position player group, to the offense, particularly perhaps with left-hand hitting and power, but also doing that with, hopefully guys that are a little bit more certain, like Ryan O'Hearn and Brandon Lau. Those are, pretty steady, stable performers in the major leagues. but also adding to depth and upside and creating a stronger position player group from top to bottom. So in addition to Lau and O'Hearn, adding Joe Stinson Garcia, you'll get to know him as Password in a trade. Jake Mangum coming back as part of that Rays trade. We think we have a deeper position player group on top of the guys that are already here. And yes, we are actively still trying to add to that on the phone with agents and teams every day, looking for the opportunities to continue to improve the roster going into spring training. On the pitching side, stated desire to add to the left side of our pitching, left-handed side of our pitching group. That's a key element for us at PNC to win ball games. Adding power stuff in Gregory Soto and Mason Montgomery to our pitching staff, particularly from the left side, we think we give us another element to attack lineups and win games that way. And yes, on the pitching side, also want to continue to add same thing. We're actively talking about opportunities to do that. As long as we stay aggressive and disciplined at the same time in pursuing those things, undoubtedly something or more than something is going to land, whether that's 24 hours from now, a week from now, on February 5th, a month, right? It's hard to predict. We just got to keep working at it. The full goal is to continue to improve the team between now and opening day.
Thank you, Ben. Several questions for Donnie. Donnie, about a handful about standards. Adam Martz said, what is your definition of grit? Jackie Clemens, what do you plan to change this season that didn't work last year? Caitlin Newton, what, if any, are some growth opportunities that you'll apply to lead the team in 2026? Donnie, your thoughts?
Yeah, welcome everybody. And when we talk about that grit, and I think that it's part of the fabric of Pittsburgh and something that gets me really excited that we see on a daily basis, that blue collar mentality, the resiliency that the city, the fans, that everybody shows. And that's what we expect of ourselves as a team. When we're going out there and playing, that grit is a mindset of how we approach every single day. And it started last year. We started laying the foundation for that. We talked about individually earning respect every single day when you go out there and how you prepare, how you work, how you compete. And as a team, going out there and earning respect in how we play, playing the game the right way. We need to continue to get better. We need to continue to hone in on the details, continue to execute at a high level, playing the game of baseball and playing the game of baseball together every single night. When we go out there, just finding a way to win. Yes, we have the great pitching staff. We've done a great job of adding to the team offensively to add to what we're bringing back. But we need to do it together every single night. If it's 1-0, it's 1-0. If it's 10-9, it's 10-9. But we just need to have that collective mindset, that grit to go out and find a way to hold that standard of find a way to win the baseball game tonight.
Thank you, Donnie. Before we get to your questions, the audience, again, we got a lot submitted, and one of the big ones was about Andrew McCutchen. A lot of fans asking about Andrew McCutchen. So Ben, Josh Crownover, where's Kutch? Joe says, I'm really disappointed we haven't signed Kutch yet. Where are we on this? Randy K, do you have any plans on bringing back Andrew McCutchen? Ben, where do things stand with Andrew McCutchen?
First of all, I love that, it's part of the great thing about Pittsburgh, all of you baseball fans in Pittsburgh, is how strongly you feel about the people that have meant a lot to the team. Andrew's meant a ton to the team. He's had an incredible run in two different times with the Pirates. Certainly his legacy as a Pirate is secure, and our desire, everybody with the Pirates, would desire to maintain a really good relationship with Andrew well into the future. And then we come back to our team. What is the job? The job is to build a team that gives us the best chance to be winning games when you're at the ballpark in June and July, and that's where I see that passion come out. That's ultimately what our job is and what we aim to do. And so our approach this offseason has been laser focused on what gives us the best chance to win more baseball games in Pittsburgh than we have in the past seasons. That's going to continue to guide our decisions. So much respect for Andrew. That relationship's really important to us, and we'll continue to communicate with him directly as the team comes together. We have more work to do.
Again, we had several questions that were submitted ahead of time. We also want to give you an opportunity with the roving microphones. Celine and Grant are out. So if you have a question, raise your hand. We are going to get back to some of the ones that were submitted earlier. But I think, does Grant have some? Yeah, Grant, you've got one?
When can we expect to see Jared Jones?
Yeah, good question. Jared's here. You can see him right now if you walk around. Exciting, like, you know, you get these markers on the calendar. Obviously, he had the surgery. One of the first Saturdays in January was his first bullpen session, so we were able to see video of that. It's how exciting. That's a real milestone in a recovery. So now that he's into his bullpen progression, we're going to see that continue into spring training. Eventually, he'll face hitters. We'll get through live BPs. We'll get him into games. We don't have an exact date on the calendar to say, like, he's going to be in a major league game on this date, but he's getting a lot closer. He's worked his tail off on the rehab. He's really important to us, obviously. And my belief is that we haven't seen the best of Jared Jones. Like this, you know, sometimes going through something like this can be a catalyst to help a player get even better from it. I believe that's what's going to happen with Jared. He's got really high standards for himself. We have a lot of belief in him. Believe he's going to impact the Pirates in 2026.
Thank you for that. On the other side here, Celine has a question.
Hey, I'm Dan. Just going with the timeline of players, do we have a timeline on Bubba Chandler coming up, and do we see Connor Griffin this year?
Yeah, well, certainly we got a chance, you know, excited to see Bubba towards the end of the year last year and what he's capable of doing. Again, another, you know, really exciting part of that young pitching staff that we've been working so hard to develop. Bubba couldn't be here today because of you know, some personal weather stuff, but you know, we'll look forward to seeing him back on a mound in a Pirates uniform in spring training. Yeah, and then I think about Connor. Yeah, so Connor has had a remarkable first year plus as a Pirate in the organization. He's met every single challenge that's been put in front of him, arguably exceeded and gone even further than our expectations. And he's a really exciting, important part of that next wave of young, talented players that are going to help us win games in Pittsburgh. Some of them are walking around here today. It's also important, you know, for us to remind each other that he's 19 years old. He's had, you know, about 200 plate appearances in AA. So there's a lot out in front of him. Our job, in my opinion, is to do everything we possibly can to put him in the position to have the best, longest career possible in a way that helps the Pirates win as many games as possible. So that's going to continue to guide us. But boy, we're fortunate to have him in the organization. Obviously, you see what he did on the field from a performance standpoint, and he's getting a lot of attention for that. I can say, having gotten to know him and being around him, this is also just a remarkably mature young man who's has a chance to be a leader in his own right, sets an example for teammates, works his tail off and wants to be really good. He's someone we want to have being a Pirate for a long time.
Thank you for that. Back over, I think Grant has another question here on the microphone.
As a non-big market team, we'll put it, player development is extremely important. And so far, we've done a really good job pitching-wise, not so much offensively. What can we do, or are there steps already in place or being put in place to improve that aspect of the player development?
Yeah, great question. I might start it and then kick to Donnie because he might have perspective on this too. I think on the one hand, I would agree with you that so far, certainly to a point, there's been a point where our results in pitching have outpaced our results in hitting. That's true. That's a fact. And some of that, candidly, is because the Pirates historically have done a really good job scouting and identifying pitching, and then some of it's the pitching development on top of it. So it's a combination of those two things that adds up to the success at the major league level. I think you can think about it in the same way with hitting. My personal belief is that maybe that impression of pitching being ahead of hitting with the Pirates might be starting to be a little bit of a lagging, a little bit behind what's actually happening. I think you're right that there was a time when pitching development was probably ahead of hitting development. I can tell you we've taken that really seriously. People are working their tails off, certainly in the last 2 years, to really make a lot of changes to in who we're identifying, acquiring as hitters, and then also how we're developing hitters in the minor leagues and ultimately at the major league level. It has to bubble up to the major leagues. That's when you're going to see it and feel it, and that's what we all need to do and want to do. We're really excited actually about our hitting development progress in the minor leagues from 2025. We got a lot of really good success stories, obvious signs of improvement. We need to see more of those examples at the major league, no question. You heard about O'Neill Cruz before from Ryan O'Hearn. An incredible opportunity, right, to help O'Neill find the next level of consistency. That's related to hitting development, also other stuff that goes into it. So I can tell you, not to go on too long, but it's very clear to us how important that is. It's been very clear to us how hard we needed to work to make adjustments to be better at that. I really believe we're seeing the fruits of that starting to bubble up, and now it just has to get to the major leagues and happen at the major league level.
Do we have somebody over there again? Celine?
Straight ahead.
Hi, JR. I've got a question. What does accountability mean? You kind of glossed over that first question. We have a team that lost more games last year than the year previously. I really don't understand the working towards winning and the place like Pittsburgh statements. And I think as a fan base, we want to know, what does accountability mean in 2026?
That's a really fair and great question. Accountability means understanding at the end of the day what didn't go right in 25 and before that, and what needs to change and improve and make those adjustments. And I think we had very clear and hard discussions internally to make sure that we understood where we needed to make adjustments in 25, where the opportunities were going into 26, and being able to make those adjustments, which we believe we have done. At the same time, I think a very clear understanding and goal of making the playoffs. It's not building a team towards it. It's not trying to get better at winning. It's making the playoffs. A very clear stated goal. We're holding ourselves accountable to that in 26. And again, I would say you, the fans, need to hold us accountable to that as well.
Before we get back to the roving microphones, we had a lot of folks. I want to ask Donnie about veteran leadership and coaching younger players. John Wolford, how important do you think it is that certain players also help motivate and coach the less experienced players? Key here that the younger players respect the players giving them advice. Do you think the additions this year will fill that role? So Donnie, how important is player leadership to younger players?
Yeah, I think leadership in any aspect of baseball, of life, of business is really important in how you go about things, and it's no different on a baseball team. When you talk about leadership, and that comes in a lot of different ways. We can talk about veteran leadership, and a lot of that can come from experience and things that you've been through. Something that we looked for in a staff bringing guys in was postseason experience and understanding what 162 regular season games looks like in talking about standards, talking about accountability. How do we hold that standard and that accountability as a staff, and then with the players to be able to do that? So to bring in guys like Chris Negron, Tony Beasley, Bill Murphy that have had recent postseason success with World Series championships, with Chris with Tony and Bill, and then Chris last year made it all the way to the ALCS. So bringing in that type of leadership on the staff, and then when you talk about the players, seeing Ryan O'Hearn and going back to the conversation that I was able to have with him, it was fascinating to me to listen to him talk about being DFA'd as a player twice, I think within a week, and then to go from that to starting an All-Star game last year is fascinating, and things that he learned along that journey and how he can help our younger players understand it. Brandon Lau has been through that, going to the playoffs with Tampa Bay. So really trying to bring in guys that can be in the clubhouse, that have been through it, that have won in the postseason, to impart that experience and that leadership to show our younger guys. And then when you have guys like Paul Skeens that come in and the way he works every day, we get to see it every 5 days out on the mound when he goes to dominate. But let me tell you, the 4 days that he's not pitching is just as impressive as what he does out on the mound. and the way he goes about it, the way he holds his teammates accountable. And then Ben talked about Connor Griffin. Leadership is earned. That mantle is earned as you go through it. Sometimes it's through experience, and a lot of times it's what you do every single day that really matters.
By the way, we've got a question here. O'Hearn mentioned this at the press conference. You had the conversation with him before he ended up signing. That you were familiar with being DFA'd. He said he'd been DFA'd a couple of times. He mentioned you.
Yeah, he had a couple. I had 9 of them.
Oh, 9. Yeah, that's right.
Just a few.
He thought that might be a record. Grant, do we have a question here?
All right, hey guys. So my question for you guys is kind of dual for Donnie and Ben here. Donnie, how involved are you in making acquisition decisions? And Ben, how involved are you in making utilization decisions? So someone like Ryan Ahern can play corner outfield. So you sign him. Donnie, you might be thinking defensively, might be an upgrade in right field. Let's let Brian focus on being the middle of the order bat. Ben, you might have just signed him and thought, there's our DH. So how do you guys make sure you're on the same page when making those decisions?
I'll start and then kick it to Ben. Ben, it's been a great working relationship, collaboration, and talking through a lot of the off-season moves. Ben's been great in communicating with me, and I'm able to with the staff. And I think that when we talk about these things, our big goal was to make the offense better. And I think that Ben, the front office, we've done a fantastic job of that, of making the offense better. And I do think that from a versatility standpoint, when you talk about the moves that we were able to make, the way that we're going to be able to move guys around and have, O'Hearn can play first, he can play right, he can play left, Reynolds right and left field, Horwitz can go to second. We saw him last year in Atlanta play second base late in the season. He's played there with the Blue Jays. Brandon Lau could play second, can play first, and they all could DH. So being able to have that collaboration and communication and how we're building out the team and then adding the versatility of positional flexibility has really put us in a strong spot, I think.
I think you answered it. I think the best version of it is when the relationship's so good that you can share information, challenge each other all the time. I respect it at the end of the day as it relates to decisions about the team during the season. That's Donnie's call. Who's in the lineup? Who's pitching? When is someone not pitching? What are we doing from inning 1 to 9 to win the game, strategy, etc.? That's Donnie and the staff's call. We talk about it a lot because we hopefully help each other. Vice versa, same thing. Ultimately, I'm accountable for what roster decisions we make, who's on the 40-man, who's not. I don't want to make any of those decisions without a lot of input from Donnie and a lot of other people too, because I'm just in a better spot to make a better decision that way.
I guess maybe piggyback on that, Ben, because the DH plan, we had some questions. Lee Clark, which players will DH for the Pirates? Will one of them be the primary DH? How will that all work out?
Yeah, again, I'd probably flip to Donnie for that, but I think you see really good teams approach it differently. There's more than one approach, right? There are players out there whose offensive performance is at such a high level that they can just DH and add a ton of value to the team and help you win games. And then there's also another approach, and you see really good teams take this approach too, where you use the DH as a spot to rotate players through, and maybe it's an opportunity to give a guy a day off his feet or find a particular matchup. So there's different ways to approach it. Comes back to who's on your roster. You can take it from there, Don.
Yeah, and I think that where we're at right now, as far as being able to rotate that and have the guys that we just talked about rotate through DH and find ways to keep them healthy throughout the course of a season, I think that's our number one goal. We talked about it the other night. Brownie and I had a conversation at the end of the season about Paul Skeens and him getting down to under a 2 ERA, which was fantastic that he was able to do it. And when we were talking about it in Cincinnati, what went through my mind is our number one goal as an organization is to keep our players healthy so that they can be on the field and do what they do to help us win games. And that is always a challenge in every decision that we're making. And I think that having the DH spot to be able to rotate can help us with that. The second goal is to win the baseball game. And going back to that game in Cincinnati, having Paul Skeens on the mound gives us the best chance to win a baseball game. So yes, I would love for Paul Skeens, and I'm so glad that it happened, that he ended up getting under 2 ERA. but having Paul Skeens out there, and it just showed Paul goes out there to earn respect every single day as the leader that he is, and he went 6 innings and shut them out, and we beat the Reds. The third goal is to have these guys accomplish any individual thing that they can ultimately accomplish, which we want as well, but it comes after keeping them healthy, safe, in a good position to continue to stay on the field. Second goal is to win the game, and then the third is for them to have as much individual accomplishment, which adds up over the course of a season to a lot of individual accomplishment when pulled together in the right way is going to lead to a lot of wins in Pittsburgh.
I think right here, Celine.
Yes, my question's for Ben. My name's Ben also. Ben, the last Pirate to hit 49 home runs in a season was Ralph Kiner. My question is, if you were to go out and sign a left-hander for the rotation, how would that impact your efforts to sign Suarez financially?
Good, very specific question. I like it. Thank you, Ben. I think, first of all, we want to continue to attack both parts of that. Like, our desire is to continue to find a way to add to the pitching staff, and we know that at PNC in particular, there is some additional value in left-handedness on the pitching staff. Doesn't mean it's the only. Obviously, we have Paul Skeens. He does not throw left-handed. We're very happy with Paul Skeens. So you don't have to be left-handed. If you're good enough, it doesn't matter. But we've seen the advantage of having some left-hand pitching on the team, and we're pursuing that. We'll see what lands. Of course, we also want to continue to add bats to the lineup and power. And you mentioned one name. There are others out there. There are players we're pursuing through free agency and trade. We're going to continue to be aggressive to find ways to improve the team with that we think makes sense for the Pirates in 2026 and beyond. And as long as someone's still a free agent, it means we have a chance. I don't feel like we're limited in the sense of like, well, if we do this thing over here, we can't do this thing over here. At some point that becomes true, but as long as we have both trade options to pursue and free agent options to pursue, it gives you enough flexibility to go down different paths to do multiple things, and that's still our desire.
Thank you for that. Grant, over here.
Hi guys, my season starts March 1st in Bradenton. That's where I keep an eye on what's going on down there. And I ran into, in Pirate City, Esmeralda Valdez, que es un jugador bien bueno. He's going to be, I want to know what his chances are going to be getting a good look at this year and where Jared Triolo stands, because I think he might be a missing part there. He doesn't get that full-time chance to show what he can do. I like him.
Great questions. Yeah, Valdi's a great story, and actually back to the hitting development question, I would point out Esmeralda Valdez as an example of some of the progress that we're seeing in our hitting development. Valdi made a substantive change in he was always a talented hitter, always hit for power, but made a substantive change in his swing coming into 2025 and his approach. And we saw him take get to another level of performance, both in high A and double A, and then in the Arizona Fall League. So we're really excited about him. Obviously, he plays a position and brings something to the table that we need more of, power from an outfielder. We're going to get to know him even better in Major League Spring Training. He'll have an opportunity to play Major League Spring Training games. He also hasn't played past double A, so maybe there's some more time there that's needed, but we won't put a ceiling on it either. We're excited where he's at and where he's coming from, and he happens to do stuff that we need more of. I think Tree, and I'll kick to Donnie to wrap up this answer, but it's a good feeling to have players like Tree on your team, because you know that day in, day out, he's gonna find a way to do something to help the team. It might be a defensive play, it might be on the bases, it might be a fundamental, executing a fundamental, it might be an at-bat. He finds a way to help the team win games. I think he proved in 2025 what we believed before that, which is that he can play shortstop. Exactly what role he plays on the team will depend a little bit on what the team looks like as we get to opening day.
If I could jump in on that with Tree real quick. the thing with Tree Root is so fascinating to me is in 2024, started off as a starting second baseman, didn't have the best season offensively, was up in the big leagues all year and won a Gold Glove as the utility guy. And that is so hard to do as a player because so much is caught up in the offensive side, and when you're struggling, there's a lot of guys that can take that struggle offensively to the defensive side of the ball, and we did not see that with Jared Triolo at all. He's an elite defender. He has that mindset that Ben is talking about that we're looking for. We challenge all of us to, when we show up, to get better every single day. Jared Triolo does that. And then we challenge each other to show up to find a way to help the team win. And Ben just alluded to that he does that every single day, whether it's offensively, and that's what every player hopes for, is to have a great game offensively, but he'll run the bases. He does stuff on defense that helps you win, and he's a great teammate that puts his nose down and continues to strive to get better every single day. And we've seen that development. We've seen him continue to show up like that, and he's a big part of the 2026 Pirates.
Time maybe for a couple more questions. Celine, right here.
Hi. I used to be a sports writer, and I absolutely accept and understand not talking about injuries while they're happening. But I'm also a little bit of a Brian Reynolds home run whisperer, and I couldn't do it the first half of the year. And I was wondering now, can any of you comment if he was more hurt than we knew? Because I suspected it really, really a lot. Is that possible for you guys to admit that?
I would love if you whispered more, like you keep whispering. I actually don't, not that I'm aware of. I think that what I saw, I'll just answer, what I saw with Brian in 2025 was a reminder of how hard the game is. This has been one of the most reliable, consistent hitters in the major leagues for several years. He's very accountable, he cares, he holds himself to a really high standard. He went through a stretch where he faced some challenges. There was a little bad luck probably mixed in there. And then he picked it up and kind of got back to closer to Brian Reynolds. Were there physical things? Everybody has them throughout the year. Nobody's 100% every single day, as Donnie can tell you. But I don't think there was anything specific going on. I think it's like you see around the major leagues, even really good players sometimes have stretches during the seasons where the outcomes don't come.
I think we had one more from Grant, I believe. Do we?
Yeah.
Yep. Back there.
Hey Ben, this question is for you. I attended a Pirates game last year, and the game that I was at, the attendance was pretty much abysmal. I could hear crickets moving around in the stadium as I could hear the fans. What can be done this year to get more bodies back into the stadium?
Win more games. I think the thing there's a lot about Pittsburgh I love, and a lot about Pittsburgh baseball I love, and the passion for the game here. One thing that I love that it's just so simple and clear is how much all of you just at the end of the day care about, did we win the game or not? It's so simple, and to me you just keep your focus on that. The team on the field, how do we win more games? Keep the most important thing, let that guide our actions. When we're doing that, there's going to be more people in the seats, and of course PNC Park is a fantastic place to watch a baseball game, and we should do everything we can to make sure that's true forever, right? It should be. But I think I know the people in this room enough and know people in Pittsburgh to know that what you want to come to the ballpark believing that we can win. And over 162 games, we all know you're not going to win every one of them, but we got to win more of them. That's going to fill the ballpark.
Thank you for that. And with that, maybe Travis, you could kind of wrap things up. A final word.
Yeah, no, I just want to say thank you again for coming out. I know it's chilly outside. Hopefully it's warm enough in here to warm up your hearts and get you ready and excited for Pirates baseball this coming season. As you can see, there's a lot to be excited about, not only what's been done, but as things that are still in the works and what's ahead of us. Wanted to say thank you again for coming out. I also want to thank our players who were able to make it in. I know the ones that didn't, really disappointed that they weren't able to come in and see you. Obviously travel made it very difficult, but the guys that did really made an effort to get in here. enjoy yourselves today, getting a chance to interact with them, getting to hear a little bit from them here on the stage during the day. There's a lot of activities for you, so please have a great time here at PiratesFest. We look forward to seeing you, hopefully some of you in Bradenton. We look forward to seeing you at PNC Park for opening day, and let's go Bucks.
Thank you, everybody.